Hey team, welcome to another Building Better Baseball timeout. And in today's timeout, we're going over common baseball situations. I'm going to explain what a baseball situation is, and I'm going to go over the top 4 or 5 common baseball situations that pop up in baseball. Remember, I'm Coach Hart, and in these timeouts, I teach you the rules of baseball and I teach you how to play the game. So let's get right into baseball situations. What is a baseball situation? The term baseball situation to me just means a situation that arises in the game where the balance of who has the advantage shifts. So in most situations, mostly in the beginning of the innings, there's no advantage on either side. The offense doesn't have the advantage and the defense doesn't have the advantage. But as the game goes on and baseball situations come up into the game, the momentum and the advantage in the game shifts from offense to defense or defense to offense. Sometimes the offense has the advantage and sometimes the defense does. So the first one is first and third situation. A first and third situation is when the offense has runners on first base and third base. So as you can see, the runner is here on third and runner is here on first. This is an advantage to the offense when they have first and third situation. The defense must have plays ready to defend this situation. These are called first and third plays for the defense. So in this situation, why the offense has the advantage is because if you are old enough to steal, if the league and the age that you're playing in is old enough to steal, let's say this runner from first base steals second base, and the catcher on the steal, he throws it down to second base to try to get that runner out. Well, when that happens, this runner on third can go home and score. So the defense, like I said, has to have certain situations and certain plays in play to defend against this possibility. Because this runner, you don't want them advancing to second base, but also the offense can use this runner as an advantage to try and score this runner on third base. I've even seen sometimes where the runner specifically stops in the middle of the baseline in order to give themselves up in order for that runner to score from third. So in this situation, the offense is going to use this runner on first as a decoy or as a pawn in order to try and score this runner from third. So as I said, sometimes the defense can throw it right back to the pitcher and just give them second base. Sometimes they'll have the one middle infielder cut in the center right here and cut it off, and if this person goes, they throw it back home. There are tons of first and third plays that the defense can practice in order to defend against the first and third situation, but this is an advantage for the offense, and this is the most common baseball situations that you're probably going to see. The next one, bunt situations. So bunt situations are always in effect with runners on first or runners on first and second with less than 2 outs. Normally teams won't bunt with 2 outs, but if there's less than 2 outs, there's always a chance where the team will bunt. The defense must have plays ready to defend, just like first and third. These are going to be called their bunt plays. So in this situation, as you can see, the corners are in. The third baseman's playing in the grass, first baseman's playing in the grass. The shortstop and the second base are back here to try and cover second base. Normally, a regular bunt play, let's say there's no runner on second and there's only a runner on first. Normally, a regular bunt play will have the third baseman charging, the first baseman charging. So both corners will charge the ball. The second baseman will cover first in order to get that out, and the shortstop will cover second. That is normally a regular bunt play, a regular bunt coverage. Is the corners will charge, second base will cover first, and shortstop will cover third. So that is a good defense against the bunt play in a situation where the offense bunts. And bunting is used in order to advance the runners. That's pretty much all it's used for, unless you're a really speedy runner and you do it for base hits. The sacrifice bunt is always used to advance runners to the next base. So it's called a sacrifice for a reason. You're sacrificing yourself as an out in order to advance the runners to the next base. So the defense will always have to have bunt plays in effect, and they will always have to practice these to defend against these bunt situations that happen in the games. The next one, infield in. So an infield in situation is when the defense pulls the infield in to play on the grass. This happens when there's a runner on third who you don't want to score. Let's say it's the last inning and this is the winning run on third base, and if they score, the game's over. You will probably bring your infield in and play on the grass. Right here, third base is on the grass, shortstop, second base, first base. The play is going home. This is where the play is going. No matter what, do or die, it's going home. Obviously, if it's a hit in the outfield, game's already over. But if it's a ground ball in the infield, you're throwing the ball home because this guy cannot score. In these types of situations where this runner on third cannot score, the infield will play in and the play will be going home. This also tends to happen when there's bases loaded, because when there's bases loaded, that creates a force play for the third base runner, right? So if there's a ground ball in the infield with bases loaded, the double play would be the infielder throwing it to home. All the catcher would have to do is catch it. He wouldn't have to tag the base runner because it's a force play. The catcher would catch it like a first baseman for the out, and then they would throw it to first for the second out. That's a common double play, is catcher to first when infield is in and there's bases loaded. The next one is corners in. So the corners in situation is almost identical to the infield in, but only the first and the third baseman are playing in. This would be with less than 2 outs, the middle infield is turning 2, and the corners are coming home. So it's nearly identical to the infield in, but only the corners are going to come home. So the corners are playing in right here on the grass, or in this situation, let's say that there's runners on first and third, right? First and third, corners are in, right? Let's say that the third baseman gets a ground ball. He was going to check the runner on third base to make sure they are not going home, and then they are going to throw to first. He's not going to try and turn 2 because there's 0 outs, right? That would sacrifice the run. That would let the run score. You're going to check 3, and then you're going to go 1. Whereas if the ball comes to the shortstop, that third base runner is already coming home to score, but you're trying to get 2 outs. So the shortstop is going to turn a double play with the second baseman and go second to first. So with corners in, there are a lot of situations that can happen. It can be sort of all base running situations where there's a runner on third, there's a runner on second and third, there's bases loaded, there's first and third. All of these situations can account for corners in. But like I said, the difference between infield in and corners in is when you have corners in, this runner scoring, it's not a huge deal if they score. Obviously, you don't want anybody to score, but if they score, it's not a huge deal. It's not going to be a game changer, which is why the infield is back and they're trying to get 2 in the middle infield. If there's ever a situation where the runner on third cannot score, then you would see all 4 infielders in playing infield in. The next one is a rundown or a pickle. This situation is when an offensive runner is caught between 2 bases. So as you can see, this runner is right here. They're running back and forth in between first and second base, and these defenders are throwing it back and forth, trying to catch them and trying to tag them out. There's a proper technique that the defense must practice in order to defend this situation. There's a proper way to defend a rundown, and if the defense does not practice, this runner has the chance to keep on running through when the defense has the advantage in this situation and they have them caught in between the base paths. When you have a runner in the base paths, you always want to tag them out. At the very least, if they do not get out, you want them to go back to the base that they came from. So this runner just came from first base. He didn't make it all the way to second, so therefore that's why he's caught in between. You don't want him to get to second base. That's when the defense ultimately loses. At the very least, you want the runner to go back to first. Obviously, the best situation, you want to tag them out. But if you don't get them out, the next best thing is to send them back to the base where they came from. The last one is infield shifts. So there are many times when the infield will put a shift on. And this just means that players are not playing in their normal position areas. So as you can see, the lefty pull, the lefty hitter here, let's say they are known for hitting it to the right side, and that's all they do. They just hit it to the right side, right side, right side, right? The defense, they might put a shift on where they know that this hitter is not going to hit it to the left side down the third baseline. So they're going to bring the third baseman all the way over here and play in this area here. So really they stacked 3 infielders on this right side because that is most likely where the batter is going to hit the ball. They want the shortstop to stay here. You don't want to just shift the infield and play third base here because they're not as versatile and they can't move as well as the shortstop can. So that's why the shortstop would stay here and the third baseman would just come all the way onto the right side. Same thing with the righty down here. So the righty pull, this hitter is just known for hitting to the left side, left side, left side, left side, left side. And in order to defend that, you bring the second baseman over here, you bring the shortstop a little to the hole, and then you bring the third baseman almost to the line to play on the line. Right? So the shortstop's here, second baseman's here. You don't want to bring the first baseman over because he needs to get to first base in order to get the out. But for a righty pull, this will be a typical righty pull shift to try and play where the batter is known for hitting the ball. And that's what we say here. The purpose is to play where the batter routinely hits the ball. So this is from your research and seeing the batter play before, or maybe even some previous at-bats. If you're late in the game and the batter's already hit it 2 times, you're going to shift to the side where you know that they will probably hit the ball. So whenever you see players not playing in their normal position, that is just an infield shift, and it's a strategy that the defense uses in order to try and create a greater chance for them to field the ball because they know where the batter is going to hit the ball most likely. Thanks for taking another time out with Building Better Baseball. I hope you enjoyed this baseball situations. Remember, I'm Coach Hart, and in these timeouts, I teach you the rules of baseball and I teach you how to play the game. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm here every week with a brand new video to help you improve your game. This channel is all about youth baseball improvement for players and coaches, and I can't wait to see you on another timeout real soon.